18 and up $15 at the door.
Don't miss the second annual THC Expo.
At the legendary Rooster Tail on the River.
March 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Detroit.
Well, this formula is specifically to grow cannabis.
That's Ray Kogo for Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients.
Now, everybody knows that large buds and tight buds come from genetics, and then the amount of light you use. The other part is having the correct nutrients that the plant's going to use. Mine specifically to grow cannabis, so it's going to get everything that it needs.
Ray knows what you may not. Those nutrient companies you can get in most grow shops are not cannabis specific. That means they take the stuff out of the bloom that your plant needs in bloom. You can get Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients too. It's just 2 1-gallon jugs that make over 600 gallons of nutrients, all for less than $100. See the difference for yourself.
More trichomes, bigger buds, faster growth, and for less money.
Go to CANNABISformula.com or call Ray direct at 517-375-8998. That's 517-375-8998. Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients. Hey everybody, Saturday, March 10th, get downriver for the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair in Flat Rock. It's from Puff Danny's Glass Boutique and Emporium and Wyandotte in Ypsilanti. Happens all day from 11 to 7. Get to the UAW 387 on Telegraph. Visit the Downriver Community Compassion Club booth for all your Michigan medical cannabis information. And check out the Cooking with Cannabis, Vaporizing, Tea, and Capsule Making booth. Food is available, door prizes, and more. Tickets are $12 at the door. Then from 9 until 2, stay for the Puff Danny's 2nd anniversary party with live music and more. It's Saturday, March 10th, the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair. The Ohm of Medicine is a state-of-the-art facility in Ann Arbor where art and passion meet patience and safe quality access. Get to the place that has top-of-the-line security, atmosphere, art, and most importantly, a highly trained and caring, compassionate staff. And the convenience is clear. Ohm of Medicine is easy to get to in downtown Ann Arbor. Private, well-maintained, handicap-accessible restrooms, convenient, secure parking in 2 nearby lots with complimentary validation. The Ohm of Medicine. Log on to omofmedicine.org.
Hey, Jersey Bill.
Hey, Reese. How you doing?
Good. How are you today?
Okay. How you doing, Rich?
Good. How are you?
All right.
How's your leg feeling today?
My leg's on fire.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, see that?
It's literally on fire. You are a pretty stylish dude, I gotta tell you. How deep is your pain level right now?
About a 9. I got back problems. I'm bipolar. Medical marijuana means being able to function on a halfway decent level, physically and mentally.
I would recommend for you, today we have the Grape Ape, so that's a really nice one. That's a heavy indica dominant strain.
I'll take a quarter of the Grape Ape.
You got it. Can we get that all weighed out for you? So just remember, no driving, because this is going to make you pretty sleepy.
Yeah. Well, that's what I need to sleep for.
I think this will do really well for you.
That's good.
All right, Bill.
Thanks for coming, Bill. Okay. This will get rid of the pain, anyway.
What kind did you get?
Grape Ape. Let's have some. Yes, look at this. Now here goes the pain. Goodbye. That's good stuff. Want to go dancing?
No, not really.
That helps a lot. Because usually, when I'm not smoking, if I stand like about 10, 15 minutes, I gotta sit down. My back is screaming.
The pain level between 1 and 10. Where did you start?
Before I smoked, it was 9. Now it's probably around a 6 or 5.
So how are you feeling now?
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
Countdown to launch. The medical marijuana.
Launch commit.
Radio show.
Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. liftoff. We have a liftoff. Power clear.
The Medical Marijuana Radio Show is a production of the Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
You tuned in to that Medical Marijuana Show. 855 Triple M Radio. Keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal. Hey! You tuned in to that Medical Marijuana Show. 855 Triple M Radio. Keep it legal.
Hey, we're live in Detroit. Rick Thompson's in the studio. Denise will be on the phone, and we are live in Detroit.
Steve is the host with the co-host Denise. Starting at noon Saturdays every week. Yes, we keepin' you legal. Legislators and lawyers, doctors and the growers. The show is for the people. Michigan medical marijuana, no hassle. We talk about anything, any issue we can handle. Call us up and let us know what is on your mind. And make sure when you do it legal every time. Hey! You tune in to that medical marijuana show. 855 Triple M Radio. Keep it legal. Keep it legal.
Welcome to another Medical Marijuana Radio Show for Saturday. Today is February the 25th. Can't believe we're already at the end of February of 2012. I'm patient caregiver, radio man Steve Greene. To my side every week is Mr. Rick Thompson. Hello, Rick.
Hello, world.
Say, oh my gosh, I'm just disheveled coming into the studio this morning because it's a huge mob of girls outside.
Kind of a nice thing to walk into, actually.
I got here, I don't know, usually about a half-hour show or so before the show starts, and man, there's just this huge sea of girls out there, and I'm like, what's going on? Oh, here we go.
Another boy band appearance.
We share the station's studios with many other stations in the Clear Channel group, and here at the building over at 955, they had the boy band One Direction over here.
Nice crowd, too. A lot of well-behaved girls. Some of them came from Canada, waited from 7 o'clock in the morning. That's nice.
I'll have to play. I taped them on YouTube. I taped them on the iPhone, put them up on YouTube. I'm going to see if I can get our engineer in the other room to pull it up and play it for us during the program. I just wanted to show you what we had to contend with getting in the building here this morning. I thought it was going to be snow. It ended up being girls. It can't be a bad thing. So, listen, the other thing that was going on that was kind of, a big brouhaha this week as it relates to the subject of our show was this group of bills that came before the House Judiciary Committee at the Senate early this week. And it was a group of 4 bills. And, well, it's not, I guess it was late this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, Thursday, actually, was the date that they took the testimony.
And, I can say this. I was a little disappointed. We carried the programming live on RadioWeedShow.com. And we're going to continue to carry this kind of stuff live on that front page so that when these things happen at the Capitol, people have a chance to see what's going on.
And, hey, it's not easy to do that either. Steve goes through quite a bit of rigmarole in order to get the right to be able to rebroadcast that feed. So it's important for the community, and it's great that we're able to do that.
It's really something that the state's been very cooperative with because, they know they have the Open Meetings Act to contend with. And I say, when I talk to these guys and I talk about the size of the room and can we get some cameras in there and is this okay? Who do I get to get permission from? Credentialing, etc. And they're always like, look, we can't say no to cameras because of the Open Meetings Act. So, we'll let you in here anytime, under any circumstances, even if we've got to squeeze you somewhere. It's just about what's feasible for you and what's feasible for us. We'll come to a meeting ground. So they've been really cooperative. But I think it's really important that people see what's going on in there because I'm telling you, with all due respect to Senator Rick Jones, who was the Senate Judiciary Chair during the last administration, yes?
Well, he still is a Senate Judiciary Chair,
He still is. So he's taken on this awful tone with the community. Even though they're going through all the proper channels through our government, he really insulted the people who came to make public statement and comment on these bills as these were a different set of bills.
It's the Senate Judiciary Committee as opposed to the House, which met this week.
Correct. I'm just saying when Senator Jones held these before, they were just a mockery. I couldn't believe the tone that Mr. Jones took with some of the members of our community, and it was really It was just aberrant behavior.
Well, he also changed the rules of the committee as well. He chopped it from having a 5-minute opportunity to speak to a 1-minute opportunity to speak, and then eventually just stopped all testimony whatsoever with some kind of flimsy excuse about having to go away. And there were a ton of folks that had been there in order to give testimony, myself included, that were denied the opportunity to speak.
Wait, excuse me, are you on marijuana right now?
What difference does that make?
No, are you on marijuana right now?
I'm not going to answer that question.
No, he didn't say that. He said was in the studio, or in the meeting room, look, I'm pretty sure, Mr. Jones, if you took me down to the hospital and drew blood from me, that you would find THC present. I thought you're on marijuana. Next.
Yeah, and that was Victor Vicious, who's a longtime cannabis activist and a member of the community that's had his own radio program, too.
And I don't mean to mock Mr. Jones, but, it really was, that's how it went down. Was I really kind of taking it out of context?
No, feel free to mock Mr. Jones. He was atrocious to our community. He was completely disrespectful to medical marijuana patients and also to the whole democratic process. So
this is what I'm saying as it relates to us doing the live broadcasting. We don't want that to happen again under any circumstances. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Mr. Walsh's committee is going to do that.
No, John Walsh is a much nicer man than Rick Jones is.
Mr. Walsh, John Walsh, Republican, heads the House Judiciary Committee in the current session, and has been doing a bang-up job as it relates to taking this seriously. Who he's taking it seriously for is really a big question mark still in my head. So on the program today, we'll talk about that package of bills and the fallout from the hearings which began this week and are going to continue in the next at least 2 weeks. March 1st and March 8th, stuff coming up. We'll talk about that. Denise Policella, who's normally in the studio, will be back on the phones hopefully in just a few minutes. Stay tuned, folks. More to come on the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. Don't go away.
Got something to say?
Call now toll free. 855-MMM Radio. The Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
It's the big one.
The second annual THC Expo.
Starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Last floors, vendors, attorneys, contractors, hydro stores, compassion clubs, certification doctors.
More second annual THC Expo.
Thousands of consumers.
Ride the magic paper bus to the medicating building.
Oils, hash, concentrates, edibles, seeds, and clones, medical marijuana.
All available by donation.
Don't miss the VIP after party featuring Afro Man. It's the big one.
The second annual THC Expo.
18 and up, $50 at the door.
Don't miss the second annual THC Expo.
At the legendary Rooster Tail on the River.
March 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Detroit.
The Greene Collective.
Hey, medical marijuana patients, it's time to discover what all the buzz is about in Ann Arbor.
The Greene Collective.
The Greene Collective is busy making sure your patient needs are met with high-quality, locally grown meds.
The Greene Collective.
Get to know the information, the research, the benefit available to your condition.
The Greene Collective.
Weekly specials in just minutes from downtown Ann Arbor and I-94.
The Greene Collective.
The details are sweet at MMMGreenBee.com. Call 734-929-2553 now. The Ohm of Medicine is a state-of-the-art facility in Ann Arbor where art and passion meet patience and safe quality access. Get to the place that has top-of-the-line security, atmosphere, art, and most importantly, a highly trained and caring, compassionate staff. And the convenience is clear. Ohm of Medicine is easy to get to in downtown Ann Arbor. Private, well-maintained, handicap-accessible restrooms, convenient, secure parking in 2 nearby lots with complimentary validation. The Ohm of Medicine. Log on to omofmedicine.org. Hey, everybody, Saturday, March 10th, get downriver for the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair in Flat Rock. It's from Puff Danny's Glass Boutique and Emporium and Wine Down in Ypsilanti. Happens all day from 11 to 7. Get to the UAW 387 on Telegraph. Visit the Downriver Community Compassion Club booth for all your Michigan medical cannabis information. And check out the Cooking with Cannabis, Vaporizing, Tea, and Capsule Making booths. Food is available, door prizes, and more. Tickets are $12 at the door. Then from 9 until 2, stay for the Puff Danny's second anniversary party with live music and more. It's Saturday, March 10th, the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair. The law offices of Targowski and Grow remind you to stand up for your rights. Always treat law enforcement with respect, but if you're detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search or seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to talk to my attorneys, John Targowski and Daniel Grow. Targowski and Grow have the education and experience you need to be successful in Michigan courts. Call Targowski and Grow toll-free, 800-957-1069. The law offices of Targowski and Grow, 800-957-1069.
It's the Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
Okay, everybody. That's not for us. I wish it was for us. It was for One Direction. This is what we had to deal with coming to the studio doors this morning. Oh, did you see those girls, Rick? I mean, good Lord.
You know, they were very excited, and I love the fact that someone gets juiced up for something that's positive in their lives. You know, when people get fixated on bands like that and they come together, it's a beautiful thing.
You guys were downstairs singing. I thought it was funny. So, you know, I don't know. Getting back to the subject at hand, the House Judiciary Committee this week holding the first of several hearings on a package of bills, count them at number of 4. Rick says 4 is 9. Tell us about that, Rick.
Well, we've actually got a situation where there was an original package of bills that were 8 bills total.
I thought it was 11.
Well,
Wasn't it 11?
There's actually a lot of bills. The initial delivery was from Senator Walsh's package called the Walsh package of bills, which is 8 bills. But then you'll see 4834, which was not part of the original packaging. That's also been tossed in here, too. So there were a total of 11 bills, but the Walsh package is traditionally referred to as 8. But they've eliminated from 11 bills all the way down to 4.
Saying they were unnecessary.
Well, that's correct. Even on this radio program, we heard Senators Irwin and Calton and Meadows. I apologize. Those representatives, Kavanaugh,
yes.
Irwin, and Meadows, say that some of those bills were unnecessary. And I'm glad that they're able to do that. But what they've done is take all of the information from those 11 or 8 bills and then crammed them into 4. In fact, actually, 4 equals 9 because there are 9 separate issues contained in these 4 bills.
Here's what bugs me. And incidentally, I want to thank the guys, Kavanaugh, Irwin, and Meadows for look, getting Meadows on was a great thing. I didn't expect he was going to say yes.
No, that's fantastic. And Meadows is a hugely important Democrat in the House. It's wonderful.
So I want to thank those guys because they didn't have to do any of that. And we invited originally a group of Democrats and Republicans on that very show to come on, but we couldn't get any of the Republicans on. Now, the guys that we're talking to were telling me that this was because of scheduling conflicts. Well, and I believed them. Mm-hmm. You know, it sounded sincere. You know, he's got something this weekend. Maybe next weekend we can do this. Mm-hmm. But see, that never panned out and nobody ever called me back. So the Republican guys, I think they were all just kind of deferring to Walsh, and Walsh was busy. So I think that's what it came down to.
Well, Horn is also a Republican, and he's been out in the community as well. But in this instance, I think you're right.
I reached out to everybody. Yeah. I mean, I knocked on a lot of doors, and I went directly to the House Communications Department, which has a Republican side and a Democratic side, and knocked on both of their doors. The Republican guys were really responsive at first, but then nobody ever came through with actually booking an appointment to come on the show. We got several of them to agree at the last minute to come on for the first time. I just wanted to let people know that we extended this to both sides. We try and be very fair when it comes to political ideas. Mm-hmm. We're not going to just take one side of this. We want to present all sides because that's the only way you can have a legitimate conversation about it.
And it's not ambush radio either. We're interested in sincere responses from people who have interesting things to say and who are involved in the process.
So I'm remiss that they didn't come on because I really wanted to hear what they had to say. And we started to hear some of what they had to say, or at least got some inkling as to what it might be at these committee hearings. Unfortunately, our Ustream recording did not record. I tried. Our software really just kind of foul-played and didn't record it. I set it up to record it. It didn't do it. It's not a big deal because much of this is just recorded in the newspapers, and we're going to talk about some of this today. Mm-hmm. I think what's more important is what you're going to see coming up because they just kind of set the stage here at this first event. It was only an hour and 45 minutes long.
Right. And the first hour of that was a presentation by the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, Representative Ken Stecker, who's been involved in this process for several years. As the politics of this thing play forward, it's important that we really kind of examine them with a bit of a microscope. Because if you don't look at the details, what do they always say? What's the cliche? The devil's in the details. That's right. And we want to flush him out because I think Bill Schuette's hiding up in there. Oh, I just got the picture of the horns and the flames. He who shall not be named. Right? Exactly. Yeah, J.K. Rowling put out a new book. She signed a new book deal this week. Did you notice that? It was a reference, a Harry Potter reference. It was a Harry Potter reference. He who shall not be named. Anyway, thinking of little girls running around. So, here's let's just talk about how they modified these real quick. So on the agenda was House Bill 4834, 4851, 4853, and 4856. They dealt with these issues in this order. Health, medical marijuana, photograph on medical marijuana card, they wanted to require it.
health medical marijuana definition of a bona fide doctor-patient relationship. Clarify. Criminal procedure, sentencing guidelines for crime of selling or providing medical marijuana or unprescribed user, implement. And crimes other transporting medical marijuana in a motor vehicle allow under certain circumstances. Now, it's interesting, you pointed out in previous conversation that they called this allow under certain circumstances, because isn't that a veiled narrowing rather than... it sounds like they're allowing something, but they're really not, because now we are allowed.
Right now you're allowed to carry your marijuana anywhere you need to in your automobile, but what they're proposing is that it be treated like a firearm, like it's a dangerous weapon contained in a box in the trunk so that you don't have access to it. And failing having a trunk, for example, if you have a minivan, as was pointed out by, I believe, Representative Oakes from Saginaw in the committee on Thursday, then that makes it almost impossible for you to carry that there unless you have it in a locked and closed container.
Now, then there's another group of bills that I noticed they're sneaking in under a different place.
Well, that's a Senate judiciary, and that's going to be Mr. Jones's.
Oh, back to the dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm. And notice that the notice that you're looking at here has a couple of new bills in there that consider medical marijuana, as well as a couple of House bills that are being considered in the Senate.
Now, do we know what's going on over there with those bills? These are coming up on the 28th, I believe, before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Mm-hmm. And for those people that aren't familiar with the way that the legislature works. A representative or a senator proposes a bill, it's considered in committee. Once it's voted out of committee, then it's voted on by the entire Senate or House, and then it goes to either the Senate or House it wasn't in, and then the whole process is repeated. So there'll be an opportunity for these things that come up in front of the Senate committee to be considered in the House committee also.
So there's two sets of bills. The ones on the 28th are newer ones that they've just introduced.
Yes.
And the ones before the House Judiciary Committee, which we've been discussing here, they're going to hear now. Now, who did we hear from this week? We heard from, like you said, you mentioned before that we heard from, was it Ken Steckard?
Ken Steckard from the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan. And after his hour-long presentation, we had both Reps Kavanaugh and Reps Horn, a Democrat and a Republican, who had both been working on the work group. They gave about a 45-minute presentation and answered some questions from the House Judiciary Committee members themselves.
Okay, and then afterwards, yeah, like you said, there were some questions, and then that's pretty much, they wrapped it up.
Yeah, they had another committee meeting, and that's one of the problems with these is that they're trying to cram an awful lot of information into a 2-hour section, which, in my opinion, means they need to add more 2-hour sections, not fewer, so that we get greater amount of input from citizens.
Well, given that they were working on this for such a long period of time, how could you take the culmination of it and just discuss it for a few moments? I mean, a brief flash in history's page.
Because you really aren't interested in what the people have to say. That would be the only reason why you rush through this process.
Or maybe they just didn't take this part seriously enough, or maybe didn't anticipate a couple. I don't know. Well, it seems to me that it's just not enough.
Well, and to be honest with you folks, there are a couple of things here that might be positive for the medical marijuana community in some of these bills, and we should be able to celebrate some of those things. For example, there's a proposal in HB 4834 to make your application a 2-year card as opposed to having to do it every single year.
That is something that's beneficial to everybody. That's win-win, isn't it?
I would agree too. And also, in my personal opinion, requiring a photograph on the cards themselves is not a danger. And if they're allowed to use the Secretary of State's photograph with a signed waiver from the patient, then that means even less of a burden for the patients themselves.
Well, so they have to go around and run around and pay to have a passport photo taken and all, you know, because that's an expensive venture.
Well, then how do you send that into? You can't just send the photo in an envelope. You have to send it in an electronic format, and that becomes more cumbersome and burdensome, so that might not be great. But there are a few other issues here that we really do need to pay attention. 4851 is actually 4 separate bills wrapped into a single one, and 4834 is really 3 bills wrapped into a single one. So when you start adding up all the different issues that are here, there are 9 separate issues that are masqueraded as 4 individual bills. Part of the problem with this entire process is that Chairman Walsh has chosen to hear testimony on all 4 bills simultaneously, so that instead of having an opportunity for us to address each of these 9 separate issues, any citizen that gets an opportunity to have input has a 5-minute period where they have to discuss 9 different problems.
Look, this may be a veiled way of doing things the same way Jones is doing it, but not as roughshod.
Yeah, well, and I hope that's not true. I really hope that they're.
Look, do you see what I mean, though? If they're giving you, if really had, at least in Jones's committee, you had 5 minutes, then he's down to 1. Mm-hmm. And here we're talking about having 2.5 minutes for these people to talk. In this particular committee hearings, when they come down, we're not going to get to that until at least March 8th.
Right.
And so when these guys come in and talk, just like you said, before at least Jones took these issues up one at a time. in his committees. I was there.
Senate Bill 17 was one, yes.
So when he took these, he'd take one of them up, and then you could comment on that one, and then he would take up another one, and then you could comment on that one. By rolling these all and taking them all under consideration at the same time, and only give you 2.5 minutes, and there are several issues in each bill, you're correct. You've given yourself a format that's not complicit with the rest of what you need to say.
Well, we're saying two different things, and let me clear this up for our listeners. I've been saying 5 minutes, and Steve's been saying 2.5. In a blog article that I published this week called 4 = 9, I pointed out that if there's only 2 sessions that are allowed for public testimony, and there are 100 people that want to give testimony, that limits everybody to only 2.5 minutes per person to have testimony in that 4-hour period. Technically, or traditionally rather, committee meetings do give people a 5-minute window, but we're not guaranteed that if they do that everybody will have a chance to speak, or that they're even going to follow that format.
Let me just make something clear to our listeners, because a lot of people, and I would say, in fact, most people, are not going to have an opportunity to go out to the Capitol and participate in this. And that's, assuming that you'd want to.
It's the nature of democracy.
A lot of people don't even want to deal with that. They're like, look, whatever happens, I'll deal with it. Let me know after it's all done. I'm gonna close my eyes and plug my ears, tap me on the shoulder when it's over. But we can't act that way, or the rest of us. So with that in mind, there is a way that you can participate and say your word and not have to deal with all of that grueling activity up there on Capitol Hill. You can have your written words entered into the record on the issue.
That's true.
So you can simply you can send it with one of us. Look, I'll take them if you want to send it to me.
According to House rules, you have to have 30 copies in order to have that written word be submitted officially. That's enough copies for all of the people on the committee, plus enough copies for staffers and for the official record.
And then it goes right into the record. And so it's part of the official House record.
Yes.
And so I think that's important, because if you don't have the opportunity to say it in person, face-to-face, in one of those rooms, there's a place in history for it to get recorded. And these are undeniable things. When you go back and examine them later, people can, reporters are going to look at this stuff. I think it's important.
And historians, too.
So take that in mind. Now, these other bills that the Senate ones, those have a whole different appeal, don't they? Those are wholly different things. One of them deals with trying to make it a crime to lie to police, I think. What was that?
Yeah, if you give any information that is
not
always true, and of course you're not under any oath or a responsibility as such, then there's additional criminal penalties that they want to put on there. As far as I'm concerned, that may be a non-starter, because there are some issues with that legally. Oftentimes senators propose bills because they sound good in their head, but when the House Legislative Services or the Senate Legislative Services gets their hands on it, they're like, no, this ain't going to go.
I asked somebody about this. Was it last night or this morning? I think it was last night. I won't say who it was, because I don't want to embarrass them or cause an issue. But when I mentioned this very thing, they were like, "Oh, you can't lie to the police." And I'm like, "You clearly can lie to the police.
You most certainly can."
This person was like, "Oh no, where I'm from, you can't do that." I'm like, well, here it's, that's not the issue. They clearly wouldn't be trying to make it illegal to lie to the police if you currently cannot lie to the police.
Good point. Yeah, there's no reason to make it an illegal act if it's not currently allowed.
And as detectives, that's what they do. They separate truth from falsity. I mean,
they're allowed to lie to us.
Well, and they're allowed to convict you by lying to you.
They're even allowed to make fake medical marijuana cards and fake driver's licenses in order to gain entrance to facilities in order to entrap people in crimes.
Which, in my opinion, and I think if somebody did this on a criminal level somewhere, I think you could tell those guys that they committed a crime, and you cannot commit a crime in the attempt to enforce one.
But you can. And Judge Foster made it very clear in the Chesterfield case with Big Daddies. We laid out to him all of the horrible things that these people had done in order to gain entrance to facilities.
But they broke public health code.
And he said, okay, that's fine. That's what undercover officers are allowed to do in the execution of their duties. And he was totally cool with them lying and making up false identities, and even actually lying to a physician in order to get a fake medical marijuana recommendation. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act is concerned, all of those are crimes. To falsely portray yourself as a patient, to give away private information, these are misdemeanors. It's clearly delineated in law.
And I say that officers of the law are officers of the court, and they're held to a higher civic standard.
Certainly should be.
No, they are. This is a fact of the matter. Officers of the law, if you are sworn as an officer of any policing agency, You have to go in and speak in court. And so you're an officer of the court, what they call you deem as an officer of the court. This would include a lot of court personnel. And they are held to a higher standard. Attorneys are the same way. They have to have they have to be civically a step above everybody else. They're held to a, so, you know, if an attorney does something that's wrong and you do something that's wrong, the attorney's going to get whacked way before you are because they know better and they've been educated on it.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that.
So same thing goes with the police officers. They're held to a higher standard. And if you're going to, you know, crack down on somebody for doing something that you say is against the law, it's against the people's code, and you're there to enforce it, you better be standing up on the same laurels.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You better be an upstanding citizen yourself. This is why when you go in, let's say an officer pulls you over and says, and accuses you of, say, drunk driving, and you go into court, and then you go to get the officer on the stand, and when you go to cross-examine that officer, his entire public record is completely at hand to the court. This is one of the reasons why they're held to a higher standard. So what you can say is, look, officer, have you ever been pulled over for drunk driving? Look, it looks. You start reading off the paper, the notes. Did you ever get a drunk driving conviction, officer? You ever been pulled? You ever been tipped in there a little bit? You see how this goes against his credibility? It's the pot calling the kettle black.
But I see this all the time, though, and I know that in an idealistic world that we have police officers that are supposed to uphold the law and not be criminals, but we also see in the news cops gone bad stories. They're very popular. People love them. When they see a police officer that's on the take or somebody that's been putting their hand in the cookie jar, those things make big news. And it's because we want them to be held to the higher standard. But I'm just not seeing that reflected in the way that court operations are going.
Well, because police do not have anybody policing them except themselves. You got the fox guard and the hen house here.
Mm-hmm.
And when, you know, I think they look at themselves as brethren before they look at themselves as brothers with us.
I agree with that. The blue wall.
That's right. And so if it doesn't matter if that guy did something wrong, we got to stand behind him. We have a union. We have to go out and protect everybody else with our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stand behind each other. That comes before all this. And it's just not the reality of the matter.
Well, I would agree that we have a police force in Michigan that, for the most part, most of the uniforms support medical marijuana that I've run across. I've talked to people all the time that say that the police officers on the roadside are supportive of what we do, and they always say the same thing. I don't have a choice. This order comes from on high. If it was my call, I'd let you go, but I can't.
And thank you for saying that. I don't want to sound like I'm against police. I'm clearly not.
No, not at all.
I don't want to paint them, you know, with the same broad brush that sometimes we get painted with. So let's continue this conversation. If you want to call up, 810-423-2350. Coming right back.
More of your calls next. You gonna bend over or no? Yeah, you gotta. Okay. Steve and Rick will be right back after this. The Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
Michigan's Attorney General has been lying to you about the safety of your children. He's trading our children's safety for his special interest. Responsible regulation of alcohol or cigarettes means you can't get it without ID. That means our children are safer. Now consider that illegal black market marijuana dealers don't ask for ID and don't care how old their customers are. It's long overdue that we take a responsible position by repealing marijuana prohibition in Michigan in 2012. It will save millions of dollars in our criminal justice system every year, and it will focus police on solving real crime. Tell Bill Schuette once and for all to stop wasting our precious tax dollars on jailing nonviolent Michigan citizens. Make our children safer. Sign the petition, vote it in. Find out more at repealtoday.org. That's repealtoday.org.
Well, this formula is specifically to grow cannabis.
That's Ray Kogo for Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients.
Now, everybody knows that large buds and tight buds come from genetics, and then the amount of light you use. The other part is having the correct nutrients that the plant's going to use. Mine specifically to grow cannabis, so it's going to get everything that it needs.
Ray knows what you may not. Those nutrient companies you can get in most grow shops are not cannabis specific. That means they take the stuff out of the bloom that your plant needs in bloom. You can get Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients too. It's just 2 1-gallon jugs that make over 600 gallons of nutrients, all for less than $100. See the difference for yourself.
More trichomes, bigger buds, faster growth, and for less money.
Go to CANNABISformula.com or call Ray Direct at 517-375-8998. That's 517-375-8998. Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients. Medical marijuana certification. And now you can find out everything you need to know online at getpotid.com. Or write down this toll-free number, 855-DOC-CERT. A friendly specialist will direct you to our Farmington Hills office. Medical marijuana certification. GetPotID.com. It's the key to getting your card. Information, resources, and in the end, if you're qualified, a medical card. Call toll-free right now, 855-DOC-CERT. That's 855-DOC-CERT. It's GetPotID.com. The patient's place for medical marijuana education and safe access is Third Coast. Beautiful downtown Ypsilanti is where you can get safe, affordable access to education and materials concerning your specific needs, and quality products designed to meet your exacting needs. It's the Third Coast, 19 North Hamilton in Ypsilanti. Convenient hours, friendly, professional, compassionate. Call Third Coast today. 734-487-5402. That's the Third Coast Compassion Center in downtown Ypsilanti. 734-487-5402. The law offices of Targowski & Grow remind you to stand up for your rights. Always treat law enforcement with respect, but if you're detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search or seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to talk to my attorneys, John Targowski and Daniel Grow. Targowski & Grow have the education and experience you need to be successful in Michigan courts. Call Targowski & Grow toll-free, 800-957-1069. The law offices of Targowski & Grow, 800-957-1069. It's the big one!
The second annual THC Expo.
Starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Last floors, vendors, attorneys, contractors, hydro stores, compassion clubs, certification doctors.
More second annual THC Expo.
Thousands of consumers.
Ride the magic paper bus to the medicating building.
Oils, hash, concentrates, edibles, seeds and clones, medical marijuana.
All available by donation.
Don't miss the VIP after party featuring Afroman. It's the big one.
The second annual THC Expo.
18 and up, $15 at the door.
Don't miss the second annual THC Expo.
At the legendary Rooster Tail on the River.
March 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Detroit.
Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
Give me a second,
So welcome back to the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. About 20 minutes before 1 o'clock, Greene, Rick Thompson in the studio, Denise Policella on the phones. I want to go to the phones right away. Let's talk to Katie for a second. Katie wants to come on and talk about a protest going on. Hey, Katie, hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. Tell us about what's going on with this protest.
Well, I just wanted to let you guys know about the Weed Up. It's a smoke-free Weed Up, and it's going to be, I think we could probably say one of our first medical marijuana rallies that's going to be taken on by a member of the community that's not already kind of directly involved in what we do. His name's Terry Bean, and he's an author and a public speaker. And it's going to be at 1200 North Telegraph in Pontiac.
That's the Oakland County
On
Courthouse.
Monday?
Right, Oakland County Courthouse, yep.
It is at 7 a.m.
7 o'clock in the morning on Monday at the Oakland County Courthouse.
It is time. I just want to let everyone know that it is time someone has to stand up. This is getting out of control.
Well,
I mean, people are being prosecuted, and they're not, people are twisting the law.
Well, they're being denied defenses, and, they're being persecuted for very small things. These are the kinds of things that when you're licensed by the state with any other thing, they sanction your license. They give you a penalty. But they don't lock you up and call you a criminal.
And Katie, I'm understanding that this is a protest in regards to this particular caregiver had some items seized from him, and they're trying to put him on the entire weight.
Yeah, I guess she disappeared.
Well, in that case, I'll fill it in. That's what I was told, is that this caregiver is being charged with a very large weight situation where it was medibles involved, I believe, and there'll be more information available on that, I'm sure.
How do they do the weight thing where they charge somebody? Look, can we get Denise on the phone?
Denise should be able to answer this one.
Denise Policella, welcome to the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. You're usually on here, on the show in studio. We're got you on the phone today.
I am. I'm on the phone today. Every once in a while I have lots of Saturday obligations that keep me way up here in Livingston County. But I miss you to death, and I'll be in studio next Saturday.
Hey, we love you.
Me?
We love you. We love you.
But let's talk a little bit about this weight issue, though, as far as medibles go.
The nerd lawyer in me cannot wait to see what happens with weight and medibles. I think it's a ridiculous presumption to assume that weighing the entire medible would have any legal consequences, especially if people are carefully measuring what they're putting in it. Now,
don't they get away with this by saying
regulation? What I've been seeing, what's even more disturbing, and I want to get back to medibles in a second, is that the law enforcement have been weighing stalks, cuttings, roots, dirt. So then you get these stories in the news where they've seized 95 pounds of marijuana. I mean, that's...
Well, they're creatures of habit. This is how they've done this for years.
Well, and they're instructed to make it more inflammatory.
So we really need to be careful when we read stories about them seizing pounds and pounds and pounds of marijuana. It's really not. It's very clearly stated in the law that the usable medical marijuana is the dried buds and leaves, and then the rest of it is not considered anything at all. I would argue very strongly that it's also not considered cannabis or a controlled substance at that point. It's useless. And back to meds, I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I know of a woman personally who was actually received a felony conviction over a brownie. In Tennessee County, I swear to God, I spoke to her myself. I was just abhorred.
Now, did she get a jury or did she get a judge? How did this work out?
She pled it out. And unfortunately, this is a case of people being so scared by law enforcement and the prosecutor's office that they're not talking to very well-informed attorneys.
It's the boogeyman game.
Yeah, they're taking whatever deal is offered to them simply because the consequence is being painted as such a frightening issue. So. Yeah,
and that's really unfortunate because, with an attorney qualified to practice in this area, that would have never happened. We all know that. So I encourage anybody who's listening and anyone who knows anybody who's who may be a caregiver or a patient, please don't just jump to giving up all of your rights. Most of the prosecutors are not even willing to do any work on these cases, and they're counting on the fact that they're frightening people into felony pleas.
Aren't they getting away with this by looking at the language, any preparation thereof?
That is unfortunately, there are a few loopholes in the law, and I do use that in a practical legal matter, loopholes, quite literally, that favor both sides, that benefit both arguments. Both the medical marijuana industry and against. And honestly, I have to say, from a strict legal point of view, the definition, of medical marijuana, where it's the dried buds and leaves plus any preparations thereof, leaves strict interpretation open to saying, look, it includes the preparation, including a big heavy brownie or a big heavy cheesecake or whatever.
You see,
that obviously was not the intent.
Exactly.
Quite obviously, and is going to need to be fixed by some sensible regulation.
They adopted this language from the criminal code when they started it. People were saying, well, you can't call this, say an example where somebody's mixed cocaine with something else to make it crack.
I was hearing that too. This is the thing, okay? And I want people to relax again about this law. It was not a badly written law. Things always come up, always. Otherwise, there would not be regulation, and we would have no need for lawyers, God help us, and trials and the court system if the laws were not a little bit confusing. Every single one of them, including medical marijuana law, and it's brand new on the books. A lot of these issues are going to need to be litigated out if they're not regulated sensibly. And unfortunately, as we've seen, we're getting very little positive, supportive regulation.
Very few sensible regulations.
Yeah, so it's ending up in the court.
So the topic of the show today basically was about these bills coming before our legislature trying to modify the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act of 2008. Yeah. And the formal thing that's happened so far is they've adopted new language to these bills formally before the judiciary. So they've modified the bills.
Right.
And so we talked about what those things are. Did you watch some of this stuff live, Denise? Were you up there? Did you catch wind of all this stuff?
No, I haven't been. I am planning on going on the 30th. I do have a few court appearances. I need to be in court, and like I've said before.
I think we got the dates we have here are the March 1st and March 8th for the hearings, and then I think February 28th for the Senate hearings.
Right, exactly. I'm going to be out there for a few of them. I'm going to be up there, as my schedule allows. So like I said, I do have to work around my schedule as far as courts go.
Denise, Ken Stecker from the Prosecuting Attorneys Association on Thursday made an interesting point, and he said that seeds are not allowed under the law. And here's how he determined that. He said that the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act does not make any regulation in regards to seeds.
Well, and this is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a big problem. I am really, really, really tired of prosecuting attorneys in courts making the presumption that because something is not contained in the law, it must therefore be disallowed. I
agree.
I mean, if you are allowed as a caregiver to grow, manufacture, transport, cultivate, distribute, and allow use of medical marijuana through the plants, where the hell are you getting the plants?
Well, Denise,
where are you getting the plants? Where are you getting the clones? Where are you getting the seeds?
Right,
we all know where we get them.
Denise, what I was saying, though, is that Ken Stecker made the point that seeds are considered part of the cannabis sativa L plant as defined by the Public Health Code, the Criminal Code, and therefore they're already illegal, and since the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act does not cover them, that makes them default to the original Public Health Code illegality. And I agree with you completely, but this is not something that we've seen put forth in court cases as of yet.
True. I mean, but you also have to remember he's simply platforming off of the Controlled Substances Act, in which an ungerminated seed of the cannabis plant is a convictable offense. It's ridiculous. You can't even have it for entertainment purposes or novelty purposes.
Entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
It's an entertaining little seed.
But you know what I'm saying? It's yes, technically that may be the case, but is that the way he wants to go? Is that what he wants to spend
I sure hope not. I sure hope not. That's a ridiculous type of a statement.
If that's what it's going to come down to, we're going to be litigating this thing forever. I could go at this all day as far as the rest of the act, what constitutes a sale, what doesn't constitute a sale. We've got plenty of loopholes on both sides for 100 lawyers to get into a room, duke it out, and all of us come up with a different opinion.
Well, we don't have all day. We got just seconds. We'll be right back with more of the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. Stand by.
818-423-2350. We'll be right back after this on the Medical Marijuana Radio Show, the Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
Michigan's Attorney General has been lying to you about the safety of your children. He's trading our children's safety for his special interest. Responsible regulation of alcohol or cigarettes means you can't get it without ID. That means our children are safer. Now consider that illegal black market marijuana dealers don't ask for ID and don't care how old their customers are. It's long overdue that we take a responsible position by repealing marijuana prohibition in Michigan in 2012. It will save millions of dollars in our criminal justice system every year, and it will focus police on solving real crime. Tell Bill Schuette once and for all to stop wasting our precious tax dollars on jailing nonviolent Michigan citizens. Make our children safer. Sign the petition. Vote it in. Find out more at repealtoday.org. That's repealtoday.org. Medical marijuana certification. And now you can find out everything you need to know online at getpotid.com. Or write down this toll-free number, 855-DOC-CERT. A friendly specialist will direct you to our Farmington Hills office. Medical marijuana certification. GetPotID.com. It's the key to getting your card. Information, resources, and in the end, if you're qualified, a medical card. Call toll-free right now, 855-DOC-CERT. That's 855-DOC-CERT. It's GetPotID.com. Hey, medical marijuana patients, it's time to discover what all the buzz is about in Ann Arbor. The Green Bee Collective is busy making sure your patient needs are met with high-quality, locally grown meds. Get to know the information, the research, the benefit available to your condition. Weekly specials in just minutes from downtown Ann Arbor and I-94. The details are sweet at MMMGreenBee.com. Call 734-929-2553 now. The Ohm of Medicine is a state-of-the-art facility in Ann Arbor where art and passion meet patience and safe quality access. Get to the place that has top-of-the-line security, atmosphere, art, and most importantly, a highly trained and caring, compassionate staff. And the convenience Convenience is clear. Home of Medicine is easy to get to in downtown Ann Arbor. Private, well-maintained, handicap-accessible restrooms, convenient, secure parking in 2 nearby lots with complimentary validation. The Home of Medicine. Log on to omofmedicine.org. Hey, Steve Greene here for the Medical Marijuana Certifications at AMMP. They're the American Medical Marijuana Professionals. You'll find them just north of Utica Road on Gratiot in Roseville. Their address is 28349. Now, call-ins are welcome, but you're better off calling for an appointment. They have a toll-free number, 877-RX-420-99. That's 877-RX-420-99 for American Medical Marijuana Professionals. That's AMMP on Gratiot in Roseville. The Patient's Place for medical marijuana education and safe access is Third Coast. Beautiful downtown Ypsilanti is where you can get safe, affordable access to education and materials concerning your specific needs, and quality products designed to meet your exacting needs. It's the Third Coast, 19 North Hamilton in Ypsilanti. Convenient hours, friendly, professional, compassionate. Call Third Coast today. 734-487-5402. That's the Third Coast Compassion Center in downtown Ypsilanti. 734-487-5402. Hey, everybody, Saturday, March 10th, get downriver for the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair in Flat Rock. It's from Puff Danny's Glass Boutique and Emporium and Wine Down in Ypsilanti. Happens all day from 11 to 7. Get to the UAW 387 on Telegraph. Visit the Downriver Community Compassion Club booth for all your Michigan medical cannabis information. And check out the Cooking with Cannabis, Vaporizing, Tea, and Capsule Making booths. Food is available, door prizes, and more. Tickets are $12 at the door. Then from 9 until 2, stay for the Puff Danny's 2nd anniversary party with live music and more. It's Saturday, March 10th, the Downriver Health and Cannabis Fair.
The Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. If there was something I wanted to play, I can't find it. Oh, what a bummer. You know, these guys, let me see. This is stuff I think I taped this from back, was it midsummer? When we did the thing over at Comcast. Was it Comcast Studios? Where was that?
Are you teasing us with something that we can't hear?
Yeah, so this is a thing we taped doing a TV thing. Remember we did the TV show in the cable?
CMN TV?
Yes. This is from that.
The majority of voters in Michigan expressed their opinion, and they wanted a medical marijuana law. In my opinion, it's very unfortunate that the state of Michigan doesn't have a medical marijuana law.
Well, they do have a law.
There's a law, but it's something different in my mind, in my opinion, much different than I think what many of the voters voted for.
What's bad with this law?
Medical is the primary word that you used, I think, that voters had in their mind when they went to the polls. And I think there's a medical component here for a small number of people that...
You know, this guy's such a jackass. I'm sorry.
Chuck Semchena speaking to the host, Charlie Langton.
Charlie Langton, yes. Mm-hmm. Charlie's a bright guy. But I'm sorry, that roly-poly guy over there,
Chuck Semchena, he is a roly-poly guy.
He just makes me want to vomit when he opens his mouth the moment it comes open.
You know, we've had some battles in Royal Oak. He's a member of the Royal Oak City Commission, as is a wonderful cannabis advocate, Jim Razor. And Mr. Semchena himself was the driving force behind Royal Oak's very repressive medical marijuana ordinance.
In my mind. It's in his mind, that's where it's all at.
Well, and that's all that matters to him is what's in his mind. He sees things and he perceives the world that way. He doesn't look beyond his own personal experience. Just like Senator Jones walked through our September 7th rally, and his only comment of note was, doesn't look like a lot of sick people here to me.
Everybody's healthy here. What's going on?
You know, we wear our illness on the inside, brother. Just because we don't have skin cancer and lesions and our arms aren't falling off like lepers doesn't mean that we're not ill.
You know, it's this military mentality that these people have. You know, it's just an awful thing.
They're all in lockstep.
Well, and you know, they're waging war against their own people.
And that's us, folks. We're the ones getting waged on.
It's an awful state of affairs.
I am not a crackpot.
You clearly are a crackpot, sir.
Yes, and I think that when we have an opportunity to support things like the Committee for a Safer Michigan, repealtoday.org, we have a chance to show the community that medical marijuana is great, but we're now to the point where we need to legalize cannabis for everybody over 21 in the state of Michigan in order to protect our rights. We absolutely have got to. We've absolutely got to take that opportunity because there just aren't going to be that many of them. We had an in-studio guest.
It's not so much a guest. I mean, we're just kind of moving into the next show. Toward the end of this show, we've only got an hour on the program, and so as friends of the show previous, we always like to talk about what's coming up. The subject here is still medical marijuana. And so we come on at noon, we go till 1 o'clock, and then Up in Smoke is on after us. And so I just wanted to bring Mike in and talk about what's coming up on the show. What's coming up on the show, Mike?
Well, this is Uncle Skunky. Mike's on right now. And actually,
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. We did change our name to Homegrown Report. So
really?
This will be our first week to Homegrown Report.
We're going to get the whole crew in this office.
So come on over.
So, Mike, tell us what's going on with our show coming up.
Oh, man, we're excited. We were listening to you guys, and I can hear you talking about the weed up on Monday, and this is a really hot topic. We're going to be covering this on our show as well. I'm really looking forward to Earl and his attorney, Paul Talenda, joining us. And
my attorney as well, Mr. Paul Talenda.
And my friend.
Paul.
Yeah, he's very, very helpful people in the community, and, we got a lot to talk about, needless to say.
So now you changed the name of the show. What's the show called now again?
The Homegrown Report?
The Homegrown Report. So this is premiering now, coming on after our show. It's premiering as this name.
Yeah, actually it was very difficult to get a bank account with Up in Smoke, believe it or not.
The bank
manager was not happy to give me a bank account with the name Up in Smoke.
Look, I had the Medical Marijuana Radio Network. It's MMRN. And I had it at Chase. And they opened the account under that name, and Chase told me, oh, no. You got to change it to something other than that.
Yeah.
Or we'll have to close the account. And so I did. But it's funny. I don't have the account with her anymore. I put it to a credit union, and they accepted the name. The full name. I'll show you the check. It says the Medical Marijuana Radio Network right on it.
That's the right way to go.
Maybe we need to consider credit union.
Mike, introduce everybody that's here and tell us who you got.
This is Uncle Skunky. And
hello, everybody.
Come on,
this is Miss,
don't be shy.
Miss Sweet Jane.
Hello, folks.
Sweet Jane. Is that like Sweet Baby Jane, or is that like Sweet Mary Jane?
Sweet Mary Jane. I'm an edible chef.
Oh, well, that's it. That's an interesting thing.
Sweet Mary Jane's been out in the community for quite some time. You're not a newbie around here, right?
Well,
absolutely not.
Well, to talk about the medical things, because we were talking about weights and medibles earlier in the program, and I think that's an important thing.
And we have a focus here on our show that's more politically based, and I think your show is more patient and caregiver oriented. So we're complementary, not in conflict.
There you go. So that's what we got for you this week. We're going to be talking about some live broadcasts coming up. We got to get our. Did we get our credits out of the way?
No, we
seconds
want
left.
to say thanks to Wendy and Theo for listening. Glenn McCandless, who's going to be a new advertiser with us. He's an attorney based out of Centerline, and of course Paul Talenda. Don't forget about that 8 a.m. weed up at Oakland County Courthouse.
There we go. And then also our live broadcasts coming up at the end of March. We're doing the THC Expo at the Rooster Tail, and then we're also on March 10th going to do a live broadcast out there at the Downriver Compassion Club.
Puff Danny's event, yes.
Puff Danny's event. That's at the UAW 387 on Telegraph.
And there's an afterwards, too.
There you go. So we'll see you next time. The new show coming up. Welcome.
Radio Show and RadioWeedShow.com are trademarks. Copyright 2011.
The comments, ideas, and opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the show participants only. Nothing stated in this program reflects the ideas, opinions, or beliefs of this radio station and or Clear Channel Radio.
Identify yourself.